Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I was sick recently, and so I did something which I normally rarely do, sitting down and watching a bunch of shows and movies. For some days I turned watching TV into a full-time job with 14-hour workdays, and thus I covered quite some ground. One of the things I watched was The Last of Us Season 1, which is basically a TV version of the video game with the same name. A cordyceps like fungus capable of infecting humans has broken out, and thus the planet is overrun with fungal zombies. In this show we follow Ellie and Joel as they go on a quest from point A to point B, which is made rather challenging by aforementioned zombies. Also ruining their day are multiple human organizations that all encompass their own particular brand of fucked upness. There's a military fascist organization in control of many small city-states that keep the population safe via ruthless pragmatism. There's a terrorist organization hell-bent on destroying aforementioned fascists, but on their quest they have become just as, if not more, ruthless and destructive. There's cannibals, raiders, whack jobs, lone wolves and more. And next to the main plot, the effect of the outbreak on the various humans in this world plays a very big part in this show. So with how dystopian, psychological and tragic this show is, I think many Warhammer fans will be able to appreciate it. And since the current focus is on the Gloomspite, who utilize fungal zombies, not unlike those found in the show, I think it's a great show to watch for Gloomspite fans as well. One of the coolest things about this show is the large amount of detail it has in regards to fleshing out the various characters and factions in this broken world. It explores the events that they have experienced during the past 20 years, the time between the start of the outbreak and the current time in the show. We see a very diverse group of people who all respond to the adversities in different ways. Some manage to thrive, some barely hold on, some are largely unaffected, some turn into beasts just as crazy as the zombies. To use The Walking Dead as a comparison, there in the show at least, there are a lot of characters that kinda just show up and you only see what they are like in the current timeline. Take Negan and the Saviors for an example. They act like antagonists and are only really portrayed as generic bad guys for the gang to fight against. However, if you read the comics and see how they became what they were, you get a lot more understanding for how they became the way they are, and Negan in particular goes from comic book villain to quite a deep character. Because this show often goes to great lengths to explore the backstory and does explain the opinions and motivations of the characters, it all makes a lot more sense, both from a logical and emotional perspective. You know a lot about the characters in this show, and thus you form a much better connection with them than in most other zombie survival shows. That being said, the effort spent on fleshing out all of the characters did also introduce the biggest downside of the show, namely its lack of focus. During the first couple episodes, this is clearly a show about Ellie and Joel, and you are invested in their journey. But after that, about 80% of each episode is just spent on fleshing out new characters, sometimes even characters that don't appear in the journey at all. This removes the focus from the journey plot so much that during the later episodes, it almost feels like an afterthought. So yeah, I like the in-depth world building, but the balance between those two could have been a bit better, especially in the later episodes. In fact, with the long episode duration, I think quite some scenes could have plainly been skipped during these flashback moments without reducing the impact that much. Okay, but back to the positives. I also love the philosophical concepts in this show regarding the various factions present in this post-cordyceps world. Sure, Fedra might have an iron grasp on the population and human rights are a joke to them, but are the Firefly terrorists really that much better? Some utopian places remain, but often these too contain dark secrets that might make them even worse than both Fedra and the Fireflies. This show doesn't present a clear black and white world of good and evil. Instead, it questions the importance of individual lives over the collective. It looks at the trade-off between safety and freedom, and it asks, how high of a price are you willing to pay for survival? We see many different characters with many different opinions on the matter, and the main characters aren't really convinced one way or the other. This leaves quite some room for the audience to form their own opinion on the matter, which is something I really like. Talking about the main characters, they too were excellent. Joel is a broken man who already had his demons before the apocalypse, and it suffices to say that the ending of the world didn't make things any better. He's an interesting protagonist that frequently blurs the lines between good and evil. Sure, most of his actions are justifiable, and many people might agree with them, but Joel is definitely not a man you wanna fuck with. Add to this some PTSD and mental issues and you have a very interesting character. Ellie meanwhile nails the child raised in the apocalypse vibe. You will learn the multitude of fucked up shit Ellie has been through during the show, but without spoilers I can tell you that it would be weird if she turned out alright. The show nails this by making sure she never really feels like a normal teenager. She can be violent, bordering on the sadistic, ruthless and extremely pragmatic, but at the same time she also has this childlike curiosity, and her minor obsession with puns constantly reminds you that she is in fact just still a kid. The visuals also deserve some praise. I mean, I'm quite a bookworm, so normally visuals aren't really something that matters, but if you're choosing to put it on a screen, you have to make it look nice. And The Last of Us really delivers in this regard. Similar to how it presents the people in a realistic, in-depth manner, the world around them also feels and looks realistic. The cities, for an example, are part horror and part beautiful. Certain parts have been completely taken over by the infected that form weird colony-like growths. Other parts show this weird tranquil beauty of an empty city reclaimed by nature. Yet the more rural parts might look very much untouched, as neither the military nor the infected really went to town there. But outside of the landscape, the design of the infected looked really excellent as well, with great fungal gore such as the particularly yucky scene in episode 2, and really creepy monster designs that I won't talk about more for spoiler reasons. The final highlight I want to point out is the tragedy porn, and this is also the main reason why I think my fellow Warhammer fans can definitely appreciate this. Of course, in combination with the grey colored protagonists and factions. This show has so many heartbreaking scenes and expertly sets each of them up to hit you in the face with maximum potential. It is almost reminiscent of a series of unfortunate events in the sense that you always keep on hoping that things might go well for a character, but in the end, it rarely does. Every death or failure is more tragic than the next, and most episodes really left me with a what the fuck feeling after they ended. Okay, it is maybe not Red Wedding levels of WTF, but it is definitely the kind of vibe to expect. So yeah, altogether I really enjoyed this one. I think 8 or 9 fungi out of 10 clickers. If you're looking for some excellent tragedy porn, a philosophical take on the post-zombie world, or just some dope fungal gore, this is an excellent pick. And anyways, that's all I got to say about this one. If you'd like me to continue making some recommendations whenever I come across something cool, let me know in the comments. If not, then I'll stick to the books, okay? If you like this video, please consider subscribing and click ringing the bell to appease the Great Horned Rat. For more lore content, please check my main channel and leave any book recommendations in the comments down below. I gotta get back to reading the next book.